Hey everyone, Jonathan Shaw here, founder of Decoding Pain and creator of the DTO system. And today I thought it'd be good to do a case history with a lovely lady that I helped a few months back now, who had some interesting symptoms and was given a very interesting diagnosis and was told that she needs to do something that in my world was actually quite dangerous. So luckily she knew me or knew someone who knew me and she asked me to help and fortunately was able to solve her symptoms without the extreme measures that was being recommended to her. So I'd like to welcome you to Faye. Hello Faye, how you doing?
Hi, yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate that. So Faye, now we knew each other through a mutual friend,
Yeah.
and that's how you knew. You'd actually known me for a couple of years, hadn't you? And you'd sort of been threatening to come and see me for quite a while. But the symptoms you're having, you'd been diagnosed with something specific, and the doctors were saying you needed an operation, basically. So just run people through what the symptoms were you were having.
So I was having really severe headaches that could last from a day to 6 days, maybe longer. And they were really severe, in all honesty. I've had migraine before in the past, and this was a step up from that. And they went on and on and on. So I went to the doctor, um, and they referred me for an MRI scan. The MRI results came back, and my doctor then had to refer the scans to King's. Um, I had a condition called Shari malformation, which basically means that there was fluid buildup in my skull, and the way that my brain was positioned in my skull meant that the fluid couldn't escape it through the natural means, so it would cause pressure in my head, which was then leading to the headaches. Again, it can cause pressure in the back of your eyes because the fluid buildup gets to that point where it's got nowhere to go, so there's pressure within your head. I was then told by my doctor that often with Shari malformation, you need a decompression on your skull, which means they give you surgery, cut out a section of your skull, which then in theory alleviates the pressure because it gives the fluid somewhere to escape. You can also have stents put in. This can take 6 months to recover from, and obviously it's a very big operation for someone like myself. I enjoy horse riding and things like that. To have a part of the skull removed and your sort of brain exposed at the back of your head, and when you're horse riding is a really dangerous thing. So for me, it was going to end my horse riding career, and not only that, obviously I work full time. I've got two young children, and the prospect of having 6 months recovery wasn't something that I wanted to face. Really, not only that, the operation itself is obviously quite dangerous, and there's also no guarantee that it will work. So
No. That was quite a big thing for them to say to you that you needed to do this big operation. And from my perspective, I think when I heard that, I was horrified that they were recommending that to you for symptoms which are traditionally quite simple to get rid of. But you had some other symptoms as well, didn't you? You had other symptoms going on. What were your other symptoms you had? You had stomach pains, was it, and back pain? And
yeah, sort of quite common ailments, I suppose. Yeah, back pain, a lot of tiredness,
mm,
stomach issues, just various little bits that, when you add them together, sort of make you feel quite rough.
yeah, yeah, because you was quite unwell at that point, and with two small children, that's not an easy thing to deal with when you've got two small kids and you're trying to work as well.
Yeah, struggling through the days, the tiredness was a big thing for me as well. The lack of, on top of the fact that I had two small children that caused a lack of sleep anyway, my
Mm,
body felt tired. I felt generally unwell.
yeah. So when they said that, oh, you've got this, and I can't even pronounce what you said that they've got. 'Cause very bad. I'm dyslexic. I can't struggle with things like that. And then they said you need this operation. Like you said, that's a not just the operation. The recovery time was at least 6 months. It would have meant you couldn't horse ride. You'd stop doing your hobbies. You would have found it difficult to maintain a job and look after your children at this time. So, what was your thinking when they originally told you this? When you originally said this is what you need, what was going to your head? How were you feeling?
So obviously, part of me felt like I needed to have it because I was at my wit's end with the symptoms, and I'd do anything to sort of get rid of them. But then on the other hand, I've got a mortgage to pay. How can I not lift up my? I've got twins who are 17 months old now. How could I have 6 months where I can't interact with them? I'm their primary carer.
Yeah.
Um, it just felt impossible, and solutions to it that other people were giving me were, we'll move in with us and we'll look after you, and it's all good in theory and saying that in advance of it, but when it actually comes to that time, that's not going to prove easy to to do, especially on top of the fact that I've got the two young children. I've also got three dogs and a horse, so there's a lot more general day-to-day life that would be impacted upon, not only for me, people in my friendship group and my family, and obviously in my work as well.
Yeah. So when obviously, when you told your family, about this operation, the problem is that when people have pain or symptoms and the doctor tells you what to do, often the family get involved. Oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. Did you feel any kind of pressure from the family? You should be doing that. You should go down the doctor route and not try someone like me that would be considered wacky in mainstream.
Yeah,
Were they pressuring you a little bit, or said, you got to do it this way?
yeah, 100%. Fully back in the medical route. Um, my partner and my family are all saying, we really think you should have the operation, and if they doctors have said you need it done, if that's the case, we'll need to do it, and etc. etc. Yeah.
I find that amazing that people are totally open to have this horrible, horrible type of surgery that is very, very dangerous. Even the doctors go, well, it's dangerous. They've told you that it might not work and it could cause problems. They have, so the families recommend this, and they're not, for their loved ones. I mean, that's now not everybody knows someone who can help them naturally, so some people often just go down this route. Um, but you decided to speak to me about it, at least have a conversation with me. What kind of convinced you to just have a conversation with me about it?
So our mutual friend said to me, this is really serious. You should really think about speaking to Jonathan. And I thought, well, I haven't got anything to lose. I've only got something to gain if you know, I have a conversation with yourself. It can't make it worse. So there was no sort of issue in that side of things for me. So I thought, I was skeptical. How can this person help me to stop these headaches that are absolutely horrendous? Um, yeah, I was skeptical, as you know, but I thought
Fine.
I have anything to lose. So if this can help me, then I'd rather try this. I'll try anything. I was desperate. I was in an absolutely desperate state, uh, and at that point, I would have tried anything, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah, so I do find a lot of people get before they get to me, they get to that desperate state. I know that when I had my depression, that before I finally healed it, I was desperate to get it better. And I often find people with severe symptoms or had symptoms a long time, they have to get desperate before they will try anything. But it's very common for people to be skeptical. I totally get that because we've been trained the medical profession know, the medical profession know, and it's caused by this and this. And so because of that, they're thinking, well, what possibly could this other person know or do that could solve the problem? The tragedy is that that's not really the way health and well-being work, and what what doctors do know about health and well-being when it comes to illness and disease is actually very little. I've actually even heard doctors admit that, but their methodology they use is shocking sometimes. What they encourage people to do, but I understand people are very skeptical about what I do. And that's totally okay, which is why I like to do things like this and show people how well things have gone. So you had the conversation with me,
Yeah.
and
And
from the conversation, what did that do? How did that make you feel? Why did that make you decide to work with me and do what you then did after that?
well, it got really strange actually, because well, obviously we had the conversation and then I left and I was driving home, and I sent you a photo actually. As I
Yeah.
was on my way home, there was a lorry driving along, and on the back, it was in front of me, and on the back of it, it had DTO written on it. And I was like, if that's not a sign to do something about it, like what is? So I decided that I would take that as a sign that I should pursue this, and obviously spoke to you and got our sessions up and running.
Great. And now, another thing was obviously you have to pay me, and obviously what they were recommending was, on the NHS you could have had that for free, that operation, and so you had to pay me money to help you. Uh, and a lot of people find that a factor. They're not willing to spend money on their health for some reason. Spend all their money on their cars, their holiday, their nails, their makeup, but on themselves, on their actual way they're thinking and feeling their health, they struggle with that. So why did you skip over that? Why was that not a problem and you just decided to work with me?
Well, so when you put it into perspective, really, when I thought about it, okay, I had an initial outlay to yourself for the course of treatments, but if I'd gone to the NHS route, I would have been out of work for 6 months. The cost actually, yes, okay, for the treatment itself is free on the NHS, but the cost of paying my mortgage when I'm sick from work, and the financial burden by having the NHS treatment would have been a lot more
Mm.
uh, than what I paid to have the sessions with you. Um,
So,
and the time, you can't put a price on time, so the recovery time and the operation and everything else. No, I know it's free, but you can't put a price on that. So that wasn't really. It was a no-brainer in that sense.
yeah, I asked that question because people don't realise that, although they get these treatments for free, it very rare. I can't say this in your case, but I've seen people not who don't need operations, but they're paying constantly, go backwards and forwards to the hospital. They're paying in petrol. They're paying with their time. They might be going to other therapists, paying them to help them try and get better, and they're constantly maintaining their symptoms all the time, spending out all this money on treatments and hospital visits, and they forget about the time it takes them, the sleepless nights, the loss of work, the loss of their life because they can't do what they want to do. And the people never take into consideration that actually just because it's free doesn't mean it's not costing them a lot of money or costing a lot to their life to have this done. When actually, if they just invested some financial money in someone who could get them better, it would be much quicker, much faster, and you get it solved much quicker, and they're less of an investment to your life. So we then went ahead. I think we did 5 or 6 sessions. We booked you for 6 sessions, I think, didn't we? And I said, you should be a percentage in those 6 sessions. You might not be 100%. You might need more, but I think we did manage to solve the problem in about 6 sessions.
Yeah. Well, after the last sort of session and a half, we actually worked on a few other bits.
Yeah.
But yeah, it it's changed my life. Yeah.
So how are you now? So we did the 6 sessions. You decided not to have the operation. Just make that clear for people.
I,
Um,
I
and what?
still
Okay,
apparently condition, but I don't have the symptoms anymore.
right,
So I don't suffer with headaches for days on end. I don't have that.
right.
There has been an occasional time where I've had another headache, but you've taught me the techniques and I've used those and it's cleared, you know, once I've worked through them. So
So you've actually used the DTO system yourself and then switched it off yourself without needing me once you learn.
yeah,
Great.
yeah.
So you don't have any of the symptoms any longer?
No, on a day-to-day basis, I am back to normal. I don't have the symptoms I was having. I'm not always feeling tired. I've had no issues with my stomach. I feel like a whole new version of myself, which is great.
Fate 2.0.
Yeah.
And how has that changed? You said your life would change. I mean, how has getting rid of your symptoms changed your life? Because people don't realize that actually their health controls their world a lot. So how has that changed or improved your life?
I'm significantly more present with my children, which is a big thing. I'm not, trying to deal with symptoms and deal with them at the same time, which I did find really challenging. I sometimes felt a bit guilty if, they wanted me to read them a book, and the last thing you want to do when you've got a headache is look at words on a page. Um, so I can do all of that now. And also, it gets you down when you're having those symptoms all the time. You've got a headache constantly to that extent. You literally feel like you've got nowhere to go with anything, and you feel like you can't commit to things in life where, oh, do we want to do this at the weekend? Well, I couldn't really commit because it depended on how I was feeling. If I had a really bad head, I couldn't drive. So those sort of day-to-day elements that were impacted on, that's gone. I can now make plans to go and see friends or family at the weekend and enjoy my time.
Great, that's fantastic. And something that's really great about you is that not only did you do the sessions, you actually took it upon yourself to learn the basic DTO process while you were doing sessions with me, which is what I always recommend people do. And you've had other results with it as well, haven't you? You've actually used it in different ways. So can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, so I've used it with my children who wouldn't sleep. They're twins, and I would be up multiple times through the night, every night, to the point where they co-slept with me.
Mm,
Um, and I felt there was like no way out. I'd had a sleep coaching, and we still couldn't get to grips with it.
yeah,
Um, I use the DTO system on them. They now go to bed at 6 p.m. and they wake
right,
up at 6 a.m. the next day, and we get a full night's sleep, which is fantastic.
brilliant.
And also with my eyesight, for years and years and years and years, my eyesight's got significantly worse at every appointment I've been to, and I thought, oh, I really can't be changing my prescription again. Buying a pair of glasses once a year is expensive. Um, so I thought I'm going to try this on my eyesight, and lo and behold, I went for my appointment, and my prescription stayed the same. So,
Fantastic.
yeah.
Brilliant. And
Well, as you know, that you've heard from me um, post our sessions, where I've said, "Oh, I've got this, Jonathan. Can you point me in the right direction?" And then I can work through it myself, and that can be anything. Uh, my ankle hurts, or silly things day to day that I just now realise I haven't got to put up with. I can just get rid of it.
yeah, and that, I think it's great because what you've done is you've taken the DTO philosophy that and the principles of DTO and you've applied them to different areas of your life because so many people have different problems and they don't realize that all those problems are being caused by the same thing, what we think and what we feel. I always say to people, life is controlled by what we think and feel about ourselves, the world, etc. And if you just have a simple way to solve it like DTO, like you now have, you can then resolve other issues which you didn't know you could resolve, and even issues that you think are something to do with someone else, like your children, can also be resolved without all these complicated things that traditional medicine or traditional therapists would have you believe are causing you a problem that don't really solve the problem anyway. They're just maintaining or putting a plaster over it. And I always think it's great when people do that and take on that philosophy because you can make your life so much easier doing that. Life becomes even easier because you now have more control over your life because you can solve the problems that the other problems are affecting you. So I think that's great.
Yeah, definitely.
And how does your partner and your family feel now? Your symptoms have gone, but you didn't need the operation. You haven't had the operation. How do they feel about that? Are they okay? Are they weirded out? What are they?
Yeah, my partner is a bit weirded out by it. Like if you don't go through the process with yourself, you don't understand. I mean, even myself, I was amazed, wasn't I? After our first session, I was like, I don't understand this. I see results. Um, so yeah, he feels very positive about it, but it doesn't sort of fit what we've all been told. So how is it that my symptoms have gone but I haven't had the operation? Like, that doesn't sit with the way people traditionally think. And yeah, my mum and dad are really pleased. They just think you're a miracle worker. So
I met your mum recently. She was lovely.
yeah.
So that's good. That's fantastic. I'm really pleased you had the results. Thank you for doing this. Is there anything, if there's other people out there suffering like you were, who are skeptical, who think they need an operation, or even if they don't need an operation, they're just suffering, they're going down the medical route, they're going to other therapists, they're not getting better. Is there anything you would say to them based on your experience? Uh, any advice you would give them?
Yeah, be open to alternative methods of treatment, the DTO system in particular. Be open-minded and take that risk, because had I have said, oh no, like I don't really know what that's about, I find it, a bit confusing, and I hadn't have taken that step, I would still be in the same place I was 6 months ago, in pain and not enjoying life. So it's about exploring different avenues. If you've got nothing to lose, if you're willing to have a go. So I would recommend considering alternatives to help, support them to improve their quality of life, because that's what it boils down to. It's your quality of life, and mine's significantly improved, and I can't thank you enough for the help that you've given me.
Thank you. All got emotional there. They appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, if you'd have gone down the nutritional route, I mean, you'd still be probably waiting for the operation, or you'd be in your recovery phase right now, and it'd be, you wouldn't, be here. You wouldn't be able to do your jobs. I know you're at work today, so I know where you are. Not that I'm tracking you. I'm not. You're not on my phone tracking you. But no, you still have those symptoms. And whereas in about 6 weeks, like you say, it was about 6 months ago, wasn't it? I treated you. It was before Chris. It was before. It was in 2022, wasn't it?
Yeah.
End of. So no, you've done remarkably well. It's fantastic. And like I say, anytime Faye now has something come up, she asks me what it is, and she goes and clears it herself with DTO. She doesn't need me to clear it anymore. She knows how to do it. She just needs to know what the conflict is, and I'll tell her, and she'll go away and clear it. Thank you for doing this, Faye. I hope this encourages other people and shows other people what's possible, rather than having suffering and living with things all the time. I do appreciate this, to hopefully educate people and make people think, oh, maybe I could. There's another way. So thank you very much for being here and doing that. I appreciate that. We're just going to say goodbye, folks. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions about that, then you can reach out to me at jonathan@dtosystem.com. You can email me and ask me if I can help you. Or if you want to speak to me, then just reach out to me and arrange time to chat. Conversation's free. And like you say, Faye had a conversation with me and she made a decision based on the conversation. So you never know. I might say something that you might feel is right, and you might feel that the system might work for you. Thanks very much, Faye, and I'll see everybody on another video. Thank you for watching.